Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be here with Amina Moreau, who is CEO and co-founder of Radious. And it's just funny how life happens. We're planning Toronto, and Ginger Diwali reached out and said that they had some people potentially that they wanted to get on panels. And so we had a big old group powwow, and that's how I met Amina. And so excited. I wanted to have her on and get to know a little bit more about her and her background and all that fun stuff. So thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, yeah. In fact, I'm going to be in Toronto in 3 days.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, yeah, I've been splitting my time between that area and Portland for the last little bit. And yeah, I don't actually, it's been a long time since I've done any business on the Canadian side of things, even though I grew up there. So it's going to be nice to be there.
So how long? So you grew up in Toronto, and how have you been in Portland for how long now?
Well, so Portland itself, 13. My goodness, it's 2020. Is it 2026 already?
It is 2026.
Oh my goodness. So yeah, it's been 13 years in Portland. Before that, I was in the Bay Area. We had an office
Okay.
there. And yeah, and that's so I 2012. I moved to the States, but I also went to university, tennis related. Canada doesn't do athletic scholarships. So came to the States, the tennis thing, the education thing, went back to Canada. I'm a back and forth sort of gal. I can't make up my mind. I like both places.
So where did you play tennis?
A smaller school outside of Atlanta. We were top 10 D2.
Okay.
And yeah, it was good, but it was big culture shock for me. Kind of like
South.
small town Canadian gal, like thrown into the South. And I don't know what to do with myself. I love traveling. I love new cultures. But I think I was too young to live on my own in a new place. I think that's just what it
Yeah.
came down to. I loved it in the moment, but I also missed home a lot. So, yeah. So I ended up moving back, finishing my education in Canada, and now I'm back in the States again on the
So
other
how
side
many
of
years
things.
did you play in college?
I ended up playing 1 year on
Okay.
scholarship and then came back, and then I played for Canadian universities, but on
Okay.
a more unofficial basis. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the hard part, right? So I played 1 year of college soccer at a small D2 school, and
Oh,
I
cool.
quickly realized I wasn't going to be playing after college. So why am I dedicating so much time, energy, and effort into it? But I still loved it and was passionate about it. So I was trying to find that balance.
It's yes, and it's easy to fall out of love with something as soon as it becomes an obligation.
Right.
I will say that tennis is still a huge part of my life. After university, because I started building businesses, I kind of let tennis fall by the wayside and didn't
Yeah.
play for a number of years. And then about 12 years ago, I came back to it and I realized, A, I love this now more than ever because I don't have parents or coaches breathing down my neck. I'm doing it purely for me. But
Yeah.
the second thing was that now, like, I think I realized that I had unfinished business.
Yeah.
And now that, first of all, given given the state of work and the workplace, I can work from anywhere. I feel so grateful to be among the few that can just work from anywhere. And I am tackling some of that unfinished business. And
Yeah.
I'm not quite ready to make the announcement yet, but I am hitting a major bucket list item with my tennis this summer.
Okay.
And it will involve working from a remote location. So stay tuned for that. I cannot wait. I cannot wait.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's part of the exciting part about what we get to do, right? Is we can literally shift and adapt. Like I'll tell you, I had a last minute lunch with a military buddy of mine and his wife. I live in Dallas and they live in Fort Worth. So I was like, I'll just go work there. And literally we had a great lunch. And I was like, where am I taking the podcast from? And there was a WeWork literally in the same shopping center.
Yep.
And so I just popped up here for $39.99. Here I
Yep.
am, right? And so that's the
There you
beauty
go.
of it. And we can do that anywhere, right? And I'll tell
Absolutely.
you, a few weeks ago, I was driving from back to you in the South. I was actually driving from Atlanta up to Charlotte, and
Yeah.
I stopped at a Bonvoy hotel. I got Bonvoy credit, and status and all that. So I'm like, I'm just going to stop and use the lobby Wi-Fi. And so, I mean, I think that's just
Yep.
the
There
beauty
you
of it,
go.
that we shift and adapt. All
Yep.
right. Let's talk
And
about professionally. I mean, what did coming out of university, what did you do? How did you get to where you are today? What makes you a subject matter expert that Ginger is throwing around your name and trying to get you on stages and all kinds of stuff?
Ginger's so great. I love Ginger.
She's amazing.
You know what? My career started by accident, if I'm honest about it. Like, and maybe that's just how the best careers happen, but it was totally unplanned. I was graduating with a psych degree and planning on doing a master's, maybe a PhD. And and at one point I was dabbling with the idea of going to med school. And and but I had this passion for photography. It was something that my dad
Right.
introduced me to. I love photography. And my boyfriend at the time was like, Yeah, I could get into photography if it means I get to hang out with you." Basically how it happened. And
What we do for girls.
right, yeah. And so we had this thing in common, and he turns out that he really liked video, but with and we had this dream that we cooked up together. We're in our last year of university, and we're like, we want to do a documentary. But
Okay.
hang on a second. We don't have any filmmaking experience. We don't have any gear. We can't afford anything. We don't know how to do that. And so, we took the little gear that we had and we just kind of started assembling a plan, but we didn't really know where to take it. And then a friend of a friend was getting married, and their
Okay.
photographer got sick the week before and wasn't sure that they were going to be able to make it to the wedding. And so the couple was scrambling, obviously. And we're like, we could do it. And thus started a 20-year journey in photography, filmmaking, storytelling, first in the wedding context, but then getting discovered by the NFL Network, CBS Sports, winning 5 Emmy Awards, and creating a storytelling brand that was speaking at the UN and about the power of the psychology. See, our degrees did not go to waste. Thank you, Dad. That the psychology of storytelling can change minds. It can do a lot of good in the world if it's used right. Which, by
Yeah.
the way, storytelling is applicable anywhere there's an argument to be made. And so now, as I've made a major career pivot into real estate, I don't know where that came from, but I've built a platform now for flexible
Yeah.
office space, which is how Ginger and I know each other. And storytelling, guess what, is extremely useful in building a company, especially one that is disrupting an industry. And sort of long story short, I feel very fortunate to be able to say I cannot work on things that I'm not passionate about. I don't know, I'm spoiled that way, privileged, whatever you want to call it. And I'm so happy to be able to say that I'm obsessed with what I'm doing right now.
Well, and I think that's the beauty of it, right? And this can be an awesome conversation because there's so many similarities, even down to the D2 college sports. But I'll tell you, I was a psych major, and I quickly realized, and I'm passionate about people, which is what this podcast is based around,
Yeah.
is people. It's how people operate their business and all that is great because it just opens the door. But when I reached out to Jamie, I basically wanted to know about the people in the business, right? And that's because of that passion. And so back to your point. So I quickly realized I could not sit on a couch and listen to people's problems and not make them my own. Number
Yeah.
one. Number two, real estate. I didn't even know what commercial real estate was growing up, right? And
Yeah.
so I kind of stumbled into it and was like, this is great. I'm blessed and I get to make good money and I get to meet people,
Yeah.
which goes back to the storytelling part, right? Is
Right.
all my clients have become friends, right? And back to your point,
That's
I don't
awesome.
do business with people that I don't enjoy, right? So I'll give you a good example. Just today, one of my clients, VentureX is the background here, but one of the franchisees has become one of my really good friends. He happens to be the board president of GWA now, so he followed me. But either way, they're in Hawaii and they've got 4 kids, and their youngest has struggled with some illness that is, he's like one in like 2 million that has this. And I mean, he's 6. And they sent me a message this morning from Hawaii. It's a text from the doctor saying he's clear of any issues, right? And so that's
Okay.
what I love about it is you form relationships with people, and it's because of the storytelling side, right? And that's what
Yeah.
we're getting to do right now is I want to hear Amina's story, right? And I
Yeah.
think when you put people first, it leads to really good conversations, which leads to really good relationships, which leads to, enjoyment of what we get to do.
Yeah. And I was going to ask you, what is your favorite part about what you do? And it sounds like it's absolutely the people in the relationship.
It's the people, right? Because again, the real estate side is awesome. And don't get me wrong, I love the checks, but ultimately it's getting to know people. It's part of being part of their village, right? Part of their world. I mean, I've got 14 godchildren. The oldest is
Oh,
27. And I get to have lunch with her tomorrow. And the youngest turned 1. He turns 1 tomorrow, but we celebrated him at Chuck E. Cheese yesterday, which I hope I
wow.
never have to go back to Chuck E. Cheese. Oh my God. But again, that's the side of it that is amazing is getting to have conversations like this
Yeah.
and hear what makes people who they are, because I'm a firm believer if you're not passionate about what you do,
Yeah.
you're you're just surviving. You're not really thriving.
Yeah. You know, one of Radius's investors, who was one of the first to put money in because he's also a friend.
Okay.
So he was like an early angel investor. Before we did anything, I just came to
Okay.
him because he's kind of one of those like really pragmatic German, always on time, very calculated type A sort of people that I really relate to because I'm kind of like that too. And he's not afraid to say, this is a horrible idea. And so when he says something is a great idea, like it kind of feels like you're on to something. And so I came to
Yeah.
him with the idea for Radius after having come to him with like 20 other ideas prior. And he's like, Mina, this might be your $1 billion idea. This might be it.
Okay.
But then he followed that up with, but if the whole thing tanks, you're going to learn so much from the experience and you're going to meet so many people that are going to become lifelong friends and also just valuable business contacts that the whole thing will be worth it, even if the whole thing goes
100%.
under like in the first year. Because we talked through the details. This would be my first time raising venture capital. And so it would be drinking from a fire hose, but also making connections in a world that I didn't even know how to spell VC when I first started this. And so I feel like over the last 5 years that we've been doing this, I've gotten the equivalent of an MBA and then some. And I've grown 4 other businesses before this one. And so like this one taught me probably more than the other 4 combined.
Okay.
But the contacts that I've made, they're not all in the filmmaking and photo and creative and storytelling industry. It's like it's an entirely new world of people that I had no reason to talk to before. And now here we are talking, and
Right.
Ginger and so many other friends that, and also all over the world, right? If I travel, now I can like go and have coffee with somebody in Portugal and have a great time. So
Yep.
I'm just so grateful.
And that's the beauty of it, right? Is it's about community. And that's what I love about this industry. And I'm excited to have you join us along with the ride, because I tell people, right, this industry and people's desire and willingness to help others is huge,
Yeah.
right? And I mean, you always have some outliers that, are super secretive or don't want to share their stuff or whatever. But for the most part, that's what I learned is everyone wants others to be successful, right? And so, I think that's been part of the fun journey, even for me, of stepping in this. So, man, I'm going on what, 15 years in the industry. First 4.5 was with Regis, like I shared with you on our call, which was not very open to co-opetition, if you will, any type of collaboration or anything like that. And so stepping out of that into the industry has been awesome. And it's been great to meet people and realize that we're in this together, and rising
Yep.
tide raises all ships, right? And
Yep.
figure that out.
Yeah. Yeah. And I really do believe that, and I've been accused of being a little cliche when it comes to that, but like it's an uphill battle. Building any business,
Yeah.
first of all, is an uphill battle. But second of all, in an industry that isn't, and I'm talking about flex now, it
Yeah.
isn't as mainstream as traditional CRE. And it takes collaboration. It really
Mhm.
does. And it takes partnership and learning from each other. The market is massive, right?
Yeah.
Like we can all win. And I think we can get there faster and better and bigger if we do it together.
Without a doubt. All right, so let's step back and get into the business side that Jamie would want me to get into. Typically, she would ask these questions, and I would just be on the people side, right? But okay, tell me what Radius is, what it does, and how it came about, and why. Again, your German investor was like, "This is your $1 billion idea."
Yeah. So, okay, the easiest way to explain what Radius is like imagine a liquid space or desk pass, a a two-sided marketplace basically with your flex office supply on one side and then on the demand side, you have individuals, mostly it's companies that are booking. But the key differentiator for us is that we specialize in residential properties and or properties in residential areas. So
Right.
we started strictly renting homes that were equipped with workplace amenities
Yeah.
as meeting spaces, retreat spaces, etc. And then we realized that, yeah, the homey vibe definitely has like there's demand for that. The ability to take off your shoes and like sit in a beanbag chair, with your laptop. There was, or like be cliffside overlooking a river or a nature preserve. Like there was demand for that. But it, if you really looked at the data, it wasn't just that. It was that people didn't want to commute. And I think that that's just an industry-wide data point that the biggest barrier to returning to the office in general is the commute.
Yeah.
And we were inadvertently solving for that by listing residences because they are by definition in residential areas. And so let's say, so using, for example, the Bay Area as a for instance, let's say your company has an office in downtown San Francisco, but you've got 50 employees that live in the Oakland area. And maybe once a week they want to get together, whether they're on the same team or not. They just want to
Yeah.
be around each other and have a little bit of camaraderie. Well, they can book one of 40 radius spaces in that side of town and put, the company has a subscription, so it's nothing out of pocket for the employees and they feel heard. They don't have to sit in traffic and burn fossil fuels. And so that has been huge for us, and we've thankfully been able to, talk to people like Ginger, who really have been in the industry way longer than my team has, and learn, but also provide insights that are unique to our type of platform because there
Yeah.
really isn't anyone doing this particular niche. So it's been
Yeah.
very interesting.
And it's been interesting, going to the website was very eye-opening to me, and it makes a whole lot of sense. And people have tried this, back to Bonvoy. So Bonvoy tried this. So when I was at Regis, we went and met with Marriott, trying to figure out how do we monetize those lobbies that are empty during the day, right?
Right.
Most hotel lobbies, especially if they're in a business area, you know, the businessmen and women show up at night after dinners, and then they leave early in the morning. So what happens with that great parking field that you have, the beautiful lobby, the amenities, right? The Wi-Fi, the F&B, all those things, and they couldn't figure it out, right? And there's been a couple. The Hoxton is one of the hotel chains that has figured it out to some extent.
Yep. I was
And
actually just
then,
there on the weekend
yeah,
in downtown Portland. Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
and it's amazing. And then you've got people have tried the restaurant side, right? There's a couple groups that have tried the New York restaurant scene that, they have an evening business, but they're not open for lunch. So they tried monetizing that, and I've been able to. right? But the
Yeah.
residential one makes so much sense with the Airbnb side,
Yeah.
the great spaces. Back to your point, I think more and more the need to build culture and collaboration, especially when people aren't going to quote unquote a hub, right? A headquarters or something like that,
Yeah.
is huge.
Yeah. And doing it in a space that isn't a cookie cutter white box
Yeah.
that gets those creative juices flowing is huge. And actually, I was just talking to somebody before we got on Zoom together that is looking to host a co-working day in May, and we're talking about how to structure it. And she was telling me that whenever she booked a non-traditional space for a work meeting or for a panel discussion, anything like that, people would talk about that event like a decade later. But
Yeah.
you book something that's obvious and corporate, and then it's just another event that you went to. And so the venue that we're talking about booking for her panel, and her panel is VCs. And
Right.
so it's a serious business topic, but one of the two spaces that she's considering is a conference yurt. And I'd say that because it has a sit stand meeting table. It has a TV with teleconferencing. It has AV if you need to amplify. So it has all the amenities of a conference room, but it's a yurt. And get this, it's on an alpaca farm. So you bring a bag of apples in the morning, and on your coffee breaks, you go and feed the animals. Like I'm telling you, Regis, not to bring them back into this, but like you're going to have a very different experience at a more stereotypical corporate environment than at a Radious workspace. Now, that's one of our more unique, definitely in Portland type of spaces, right? We
Yeah.
have some more kind of quote normal spaces too, but the way that we think about our customer base, if you want an analogy for it, there's some customers when they travel, they want the brand stability and expectations of a Marriott or of a
Yep.
DoubleTree or a Hilton or something like that. And then there are other travelers that want the Airbnb experience, which is going to bring something different every time. And that's
Yeah.
the analogy for Radius, that you can have the typical corporate experience, or you can have like the Airbnb for workspace experience, and not live like a local, but you're working like a local.
One part of it too, right, is I mean, and I'll tell you full transparency, I love Bonvoy because of the perks it gives me. I was not committed to a brand until after my time at Regis. And I'll tell you, there was one year that I was on 80 flights in one year. So that tells you what kind of hotel, but I was
Yeah.
doing the right company thing, right? I was doing the hotels.com, trying to figure out what was the cheapest and not trying to figure out what was the best for me. But I'll tell you, Airbnb, the idea of being able to go down the stairs and be like, hey, there's something wrong with my room and having it fixed, or calling downstairs versus having to call some random person who knows where they are.
Yeah.
But again, that's for my hotel stays. But what we're talking about is the ability to have really unique experience. And I call them think tanks, right? We can call them
Uh,
whatever we want, but more and more the need to have meeting room space that isn't a stuffy, 12 person conference room, that people, back to your point, have bean bags, have whiteboards, have couches. They can do different things, right? There's a balcony they can overlook. They can go on a
yeah.
walk on the beach, back to your point, and come back and be like, okay, let's think about this. Go do your thing and then come back and let's collaborate on what it is that you processed. You can't do that in most traditional office or co-working spaces.
Yeah. That's right. And look, let me also play devil's advocate on my own argument.
Yeah.
When you're booking an Airbnb for your vacation, if the Wi-Fi goes down, no biggie, you go to the beach, because you're
Right.
not there, right? But if the Wi-Fi goes down in a radius space that you have booked for business purposes, like the stakes are much higher. And so
Yeah.
as a platform, we have had to do a lot of work and a lot of creative thinking to make sure that despite the fact that it feels like Airbnb for work. The security and the tech is really dialed in, and then on top of that, the actual support day of, so that you're not worrying what happens if something
Yeah.
breaks. Because yeah, the stakes are way higher for business than for leisure.
Yeah. The hospitality component, right?
Yeah,
Of, and I think that's such a vital part to the success of our business, period, regardless of where or what it looks like, right? Is, the example of having someone that's just an employee punching a clock at some of the bigger firms versus, that's
yeah,
why when people ask me who the best operators are, I always say it's the local and regional ones, right? Because they care, right? There's ownership even amongst
yeah,
the staff when the owner's coming in, when the clients in the space know the owner and they're going to the owner and be like, hey, by the way, Sally's not doing such a great job or Johnny's doing this. It's
yeah,
completely different than someone trying to get Mark Dixon at, Regis. That's
yeah,
just not going to happen. Right.
yeah,
And so same thing with your spaces is part of it too, is you want them to continue coming back.
exactly.
Right. And so you have to deliver the best experience possible because word of mouth is so big in our industry.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Yeah, and so as Radius grows, so like y I live in Portland, most of our connections are in Portland, so we first launched as a platform in Portland, but then we expanded and now we're national. And so, it's one thing to be able to say, "Hey, support a local Portland startup." It's harder to say that in New York, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
because, kind of to your point, all of our hosts are local. And they might be an individual, they might also be a property manager that perhaps manages multiple properties. They have connections and boots on the ground, which
Yeah.
makes it feel like you are talking to somebody from your own neighborhood, or at least from your own region, and they have skin in the game, they have emotions in the game, and that really matters in hospitality.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Okay. So storyteller, right? So I want two stories.
Okay.
One, a testimonial of your experience of a host that's unique, right? Who is, had a really unique one. And two, of an actual client experience, if you will, someone that's used the space and something really unique that, back to what you're talking about, is not your traditional use of space.
Yes, I have both in my mind. Okay, so we'll start with the host. This one is a little touchy-feely. So, some of our hosts, when they list a property, it's kind of clear that that property might be like like a summer home or an investment property that they rent maybe on Radius, but perhaps also on Airbnb, and they supplement. But about a third of our properties are actually lived in. And
Okay.
it's feasible to do that on Radius because no one's staying overnight. We're a
Okay.
day only platform. And so if you go to the office 2 or 3 days a week, your house is sitting empty, might as well rent it out 9 to 5 on Radius and then come home and you've got your house back. And it's a really great way to subsidize your mortgage or your rent. And so there's a bit of like a social good component to this, a housing affordability thing that like makes my heart beat a little bit faster.
Yeah.
And I remember a few years ago, there was this one woman who sent me an email. She was relatively new to the platform, but she had started getting some bookings. And she's like, she didn't even say Radius, she said you. And I know that she meant Radius, but she had emailed me personally. And she was like, you helped me afford my mortgage payment last month. I don't know if I would have been able to, and I was just like, "Oh," like, that's the kind of thing that gets you out of bed in the morning. Like, yeah, you gotta do right by your shareholders. Yeah, you got, ambitious, like former athletes sort of thing, like, we wanna win, but it's that sort of emotional
Yeah.
feedback that makes you go, "Oh, wow," like, all of this grueling startup life journey, it's like that's what makes it worth it. So, yeah, that's the host story, I would say.
You're making a difference, right? In someone's real life. And that's what I love about what I get to do, right? Is I'm not saying it would be nice to do real estate for Industrious or WeWork or IWG, right? I've been there, done that, but I'm not making a difference in anyone's life, right? And with these franchisees and these small operators, we're helping to make decisions that are their retirement funds, right? This is not, most of these groups are, it's their real money.
Yeah.
And so making a difference in their life, just the same way as you get to do with helping some of these owners, right? They're not, some big hedge fund buying a bunch of properties and turning it into this. These are people's real homes
Yeah.
and real investments.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So that was a big one. Now on the customer side, on the booking side, this one really made me chuckle. So we have this customer, repeat customer, that they're an ad agency, and the CEO during the pandemic decided to let their pretty iconic office space and studio go. They
Okay.
somehow managed to negotiate out of their lease. They had like it was kind of a staple in the creative community, this office. And ad agencies take a lot of pride in how creatively decorated their offices are. So it was kind of a big deal for this ad agency to let it go in the pandemic, go flex, but they were thinking creatively about how to get their people back together at least sometimes. And, she was smart. She realized it didn't have to be every day, and she didn't want to do it in order to have eyes on her people. It was just for camaraderie, and people had the option of whether to come or not. And so she
Yeah.
started booking rad spaces. Some months it was once a month, sometimes it was twice a month, but on a semi regular cadence. And after the first or second booking, we were talking and I asked her for feedback on the experience and she raved about a few things and then she was like, "But you know what, Amina? I have to say it's kind of weird to have to take your shoes off." And like cuz some properties want that more than others. She's like, "Yeah, we were at a property where they wanted us to take our shoes off." And she's like, "It's kind of weird to have a corporate meeting like in bare feet." I was like, "Yeah, okay. Well, maybe we can find you properties that, you know, don't require that." And then like fast forward a year and she's been booking and she kind of became a regular at this space that didn't want shoes on. And a year later we went to brunch and we're talking about the experience again and it's like she had forgotten what we had talked about a year prior and she's like, "Yeah, it's great. We really love it. We love being able to cook together as a team and then, do our meeting and whiteboard and then take home leftovers." And you know what the best part is, Amina? Is that I can take my shoes off and just kick back and feel like I'm at home. And I'm like, "You realize that I'm not going you were, yeah." And I reminded her of it. And she's like, "Oh my goodness, you're right." And so we had a big laugh about it. And I think that speaks to the cultural shift that we're in the middle of.
Right.
The COVID accelerated certain things. We got used to certain creature comforts, but then we also started to realize that we might miss other things about the office. And what if we can combine the best of both? And that's what I think we've done here. Like we've combined the collaboration and the amenities of the office, but the close to home and the creature comforts of being at home with like a third option. And that really excites me.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's the beauty of it is offering experiences back to what you said that people thought they wanted one thing and realized that what they thought they wanted isn't really what they wanted to the point where they forget it, right? And then it's a
Right.
positive.
Yeah.
And again, I think so much of it is the human psychology back to we were basically indoctrinated to believe this is what an office looks like. This is what an office experience is. This is a professional environment. This is what you're supposed to do. This is how you're supposed to dress. This is how you're supposed to act and all this stuff. And that's literally over the last 10 years, outside of even COVID, we've started, everything has been loosened to some extent, right? I think the internet was a big part of that. But again, even like, business casual or even like the way we travel, right? I still know people that are like, I can't believe that people travel that way. Back in the day, they used to wear suits and dresses, and it's the same thing that's happened with the workforce.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
even well, you even go back to CRE, right? Think about how CRE is changing, right? I mean, I still remember when I was trying to figure out back to I had no idea about commercial real estate. I was like, I stumbled into it and I sat down at one point. I started on the finance side and quickly realized I am not a number cruncher. I don't want to sit behind a desk and crunch numbers.
Yeah.
And then I decided I want to get into brokerage. And I went, and the first broker I met with was an industrial broker. He ran the office. He was an old man that was literally smoking in his office back when you actually did that.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Well, what kind of real estate do you want to do, Giovanni?" I was like, "Yes." And he just laughed.
Yeah.
And he said, "Let me break it down for you." And he broke down industrial, office, retail, multifamily. And when we got to the office part, I was like, I have no desire to wear a suit and tie, right? I did that for 4 years at an all boys Jesuit private school, and I don't want to wear a tie, which is
Yeah.
why I went to the retail side for 10 years, was because it was more casual. And here I am 15 years into the office side, and literally I'm wearing a t-shirt today, right? And a
Yeah.
Flex Uncensored t-shirt. But it's funny, I show up and do brokerage deals across the country in Lululemon pants,
Yes.
a freaking poncho untucked shirt, and Colhans, right? And then the brokers still show up, and there's been some loosening of it. They're not showing up in ties, but they're still showing up in, super, I guess, what do we want to call it? So super preppy, right? The
Yeah.
Patagonia vest or jacket, right? And everything else. And so it's funny how they look a certain way, but there's been a shift.
Yeah. There's a shift. And also in some circles, it's a status symbol to dress down because you're not owned
Yeah,
by anyone either. Right. So,
exactly.
but also, I don't know, life's too short. I, I don't think I will ever wear a pair of heels ever again. I love how they look. I hate how they feel. And I just don't want to be uncomfortable.
Yeah,
Sorry. Like, I will be my best self if I'm not in pain. So,
yeah.
yeah, done with that.
Or even how, back to your point of the CO conversations, right? How real estate is even decided, right? Before it was what is closer to the CEO or the executives. Now it's going, okay, where's the staff, or what's important to the staff, and how are they traveling, and what is their best quality of life? I think COVID did change that, where it was like it forced people to work from home, and now you've got this 15-minute city. You're going, hey, I want to be close to my kid's school. I want to be close to my gym. I want to be close to my bubble, if you will, and not have to drive to downtown Toronto or downtown Portland.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think that's the beauty of what you get to do even further, because now people are going, I want to go do a team collaboration on the beach or in
Yeah.
the mountains or in the city, right? In an urban location that is not an office.
Yep. Exactly. And I love that you mentioned 15-minute city too, because it's a concept that is still relatively unknown in the States. Definitely like a little bit more accessible in Europe, but that's actually the dream for Radius. Is it's not just to build a company that's successful, but it's to change how the world goes about its workday, but reduces, I mean, one of the reasons it's called radius is so that you're reducing your commute radius, right? But companies are also expanding their talent pool radius because now you can hire from anywhere. But the 15-minute city is a really big one because it has such environmental and well-being implications that I don't know why we haven't done it at scale already. And so that's a big
Yeah.
push for me with this platform.
All right. So 14-year-old Amina is sitting in front of you.
Yeah.
You've got all kinds of craziness going on, hormone changes, life.
Oh, you
Who
have
am I?
no
What
idea.
am
That was a big
I?
year.
What am I going to do? What do you tell her looking back at her? And what do you tell her?
I would say get more comfortable with discomfort and embrace the unknown more. As like human beings are hardwired to prefer certainty. and because it's what keeps you safe,
Okay.
but it also keeps you from growing. And I think what like I'm not a risk risk averse I just this is a really good question. You're kind of forcing me to introspect a little bit more. I I'm not a huge risk taker. I think people from the outside would assume I am because I've never had a real job before. I've always been an entrepreneur, and people look at that and they think that it requires bravery or a high risk tolerance. And at this point, like I look at all the layoffs right now that are
Mhm.
happening, I'm like, it's actually probably more risky to work for someone else than to chart your own path. And of course, I'm extremely biased here. And I also had a launch pad to be able to do this from an early age. But unknowns still make me really uncomfortable. But I've learned over the years that that's where the opportunity is. And
Well,
so
that's where
yeah,
the
I would tell
control is
myself
too.
just like don't not do something because you don't know what the outcome is going to be. Like just embrace the not knowing because that's where you're going to grow the most and that's where you're probably going to win the most. What would
Well,
you
and
tell yourself? Your
risk reward.
14-year-old self?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was, I mean, I come from nothing, right? So to look back, I love the quote that's like, if you were to look back at where you are today, before you would have been like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm here. But the part of what's made us successful is that we keep pushing, right? And so for
Yeah.
me, I've chased stuff, right? And I think the biggest shift I would have made was I wouldn't have chased money and success and status and all those things because I got there at 27 and I was like, there's no fulfillment there, right? There was no fulfillment in the bottle service or the status, the season tickets. There was none of that. But at the same time, here's the other side of it. Had I not achieved that, I still would have been chasing it. So having achieved it and
Yeah.
realized how empty it was helps me go back and be like, I've been there and it's not there. And so I think what I would have changed that would change my life today is enjoying the journey, right?
Ah,
Enjoying the entire process and not being focused on a destination because every time I get to the destination, now there's got to be a new destination. And so you miss the beauty of the journey. You miss the beauty of the interactions and the relationships and those special moments
yeah.
and finding joy in those things.
Yeah, totally, totally. The thing that I will add that I've kind of discovered along the way is that like money is simply a resource to make the things that you enjoy doing more sustainable,
Yeah.
right? And so like, it's why nonprofits, they still need to bring money in order for their work, which is very meaningful, to be sustainable. And I think the same can be said for profits. I believe that Radius is doing a lot of good outside of financial ROI, but you need to have those financial resources to A, build it, B, sustain it, and then C, grow it so that the impact can be magnified. And so you have to look at both sides.
Yeah. And we talked about this a little bit on our call together with Ginger. Only be done if you've got the resources and time to do it. Right. And so that's such a major part for me is the ability to give back and serve people is only because I have the financial resources to have the time flexibility
Mhm,
and willingness to do it, right?
mhm.
And so I think that's what I love about what we get to do in our industry is we're literally serving people in the hospitality side of it and the opportunity to live a life that is rewarding to them individually but also their families.
Yeah. And then creating jobs, like, that's the other part of it, right? I've built companies my whole career, and to be able to create jobs for people and help them get to a point where, first of all, hopefully they're loving what they do in their career, but then that those resources give them whatever fuel they need to pursue the other things that they care about. Like, that's yeah, that's huge.
Okay. Now we're going to switch here for a minute. Dad is sitting in front of you. What does dad say to you today?
Oh, man. Well, that would be amazing because I've been missing him a lot because I lost him just over a year ago. And
So,
so if he came back, at first I'd get mad. I'd be like, "Excuse me, you just put me through the ringer and you're here?" But what would he say to me? I'm really happy to be able to say this because our relationship has had its ups and downs. I think the first thing that he would tell me is that he's proud of me. And it feels like a big thing to say that out loud because I didn't always feel that way. And so, yeah, yeah.
yeah, I think that's the hard part is sometimes those that want the best for us or we want the best for others, we don't always deliver in a way that is loving and kind and fruitful, right? And so sometimes we got to step back and look through. And this is what I tell people all the time is going, put yourself in their shoes and realize what it is they went through and why they do the things that they do, right? So I call it meeting people where they're at, right?
Yep. Yep. Empathy. Yeah. And, as an adult, it's way easier to look back and do that with the benefit of hindsight. But when you're a kid and you're growing up with that, it's hard to understand. So I'm very happy to be in a place in my life where I can look back at our relationship and have a smile on my face. It's sometimes an ironic, sarcastic smile, but at least it's a smile.
Well, I mean, I love Tony Robbins. Life is either happening for you or to you, right?
Mm,
And so it's how you get to look at it is you get to step back and go, if things, people, or life had not done what it did, who would I be differently, right? If, had you decided to stay and do 4 years at that, university in Atlanta or
mhm,
Georgia, where would you be versus the choices you made to go back,
yeah,
right? Had things worked out with that boyfriend that you started the lives, the stories with, right? Where would you be today, right?
I know.
Probably
I know.
not at Radius, probably not on this Zoom with me.
No. Yeah, absolutely not, and I have no idea what that would have looked like,
Yeah.
but certainly not like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess
And
it's the butterfly effect, right? It's those teeny tiny little things in our lives that can make immense impacts.
well, again, I mean, like you wouldn't be here had Ginger not reached out and been like, she could have just been like, hey, I want to present in Toronto and not
Yeah.
added any of you to it.
Speaking of rising tides, right?
Right.
Right?
And
So,
so, I mean, and I think that's the beauty of it. And that's what I love about our business and our industry and the tight knit group that we have is we really are trying to help each other. And I still remember when I reached out to Jamie about this podcast, she's like, so how do you want to monetize it? I'm like, I don't. Right. There's no desire to have a sponsorship or to be like, how do we make money? It's going, I just want to, I mean, do you know Zig Ziglar? Are you a,
mhm,
so I love his, if you help enough people get to where they're trying to get, you'll get to where you're trying to get. Right. And that's just
yeah.
it is, it just happens. If you serve enough people, it'll open doors because you're not trying to just be self-serving.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, I hope that we get to bump into each other in Toronto
we
and,
will, but we're going to figure this out live. We've never done
yeah.
this,
Well,
right?
I'm gonna
So
have to bring
I'm
a
going to give you two
bottle of
options.
Niagara wine and, well, at minimum, have to have a glass.
Absolutely. So we're going to do this live. Two options.
Mm,
You can either be on the event and meeting panel, or you can
mhm.
be on the aggregator panel. Which one do you want?
I think Ginger would be better suited to the aggregator panel.
Okay.
I would love to do the events and meetings
Perfect.
one. I think that's where Radius really shines. And I think we'll be able to provide some interesting data points that conflict with the rest of the industries also, which will be interesting to examine.
Perfect. Y'all heard it here. I'll connect you with Miranda and the team and we'll get you lined up there. But super excited to see you in Toronto and meet you in person and continue collaborating because I think there's plenty of other opportunities for GWA and just the industry in general to collaborate with you as you continue growing Radius.
Thanks.
Well, I appreciate
Yeah.
your time. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
same here. This was fun.